I'd like to start today's message by reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verses 12 through 17. It's Isaiah chapter 14, beginning with verse 12. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning! How you are cast down to the earth, who caused the nations to decay! For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet you will be brought down to hell, to the edge of the pit. Those who see you will gaze at you and consider you, saying, Is this the one who made the earth tremble, who shook kingdoms, who turned the world into a desert and destroyed its cities, who would not free its prisoners? Now, when we hear this passage, we think of Satan. And that is from where our stories concerning the fall of Satan primarily come. But if we look closely, we just might realize that this describes more than just the fallen angel who we call the devil. And there's a good reason for that. When speaking to the Pharisees in John 8:44, Jesus said that they were of their father, the devil. And I'm sure you'll agree, when mankind sinned by obeying Satan's temptation, we served him, and thus we took on his nature. The fallen human mind displays famously the nature of the devil. Even many so-called Gentiles give evidence that the law of God or the nature of God is written on their hearts, as Romans chapter 12, verses 14 through 15 says, For when the Gentiles who do not have the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these, not having the law, are a law unto themselves. They show that the work of the law is written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts either accusing or defending them. So, when the mind generates laws that are just, those laws come from the nature of God that is found in the heart. Unlike the devil, the human contains both the nature of God and the nature of Satan. The nature of God is written in the Spirit, while the nature of Satan is written in the mind. And we have talked about this pretty much ad nauseum. But to sound more acceptable and perhaps more biblical, let's call the fallen human mind the flesh instead, for now. And then we'll go back to the less beloved but more recognizable label, mind. Okay, done with that. Let's reread our passage from Isaiah, and as we do, let's apply it to the satanic nature of the human mind inherited from its sicknesses' father, instead of to Satan himself. In fact, I'm going to change a few words to make the similarities easier for us to see. How far are you removed from the heavenly realm, O fallen human mind? You who are a form from spirit, how you are attached to the things of earth, you who caused the destruction of the nations. For you have whispered secretly to yourself, I will transcend the world and rise spiritually. I am greater than the rest of the creation of God. I will decide whether what others do is right or wrong. I will ascend above all other lofty thoughts. I will be like the being whose I am, and will become that spirit. Yet you will be brought down to hell, to the edge of the pit. Those who see you will gaze at you and consider you, saying, is this the one who made the earth tremble, who shook kingdoms, who turned the world into a desert and destroyed its cities, who would not free its prisoners? Now, let me clarify for a moment that I'm not denying the existence of a literal devil or demons. As far as demons, Jesus cast them out. I'm simply pointing out that Satan's will is accomplished only because we submit to the part of us that was poisoned with his nature. Verse 17 says that he, or it, turned the world into a desert. That word translated as desert there can also be translated as wilderness or land on which cattle graze. Now this is a bit off topic, but that last definition is quite interesting. You who turned the world into land for livestock. Let me just throw a few facts out there. Did you know that 45%, nearly half, 45% of the Earth's total land mass is used to house and feed livestock? Did you know that animal agriculture is the leading cause of species extinction, ocean dead zones, water pollution, and habitat destruction? Did you know that livestock operations on land have created more than 500 nitrogen-flooded dead zones in our oceans around the world? Did you know that 91% of the destruction of the Amazon is due to animal agriculture? Now, I'm just quoting facts here. You can do or not do whatever you want with them. The point is that when this passage in Isaiah says the nature of Satan, which is active as the God and master of almost all humans on earth today, will turn the earth into a wilderness or a wasteland grazed by cattle, it fits the facts very well. Our God is our belly. And we even blame the Bible for it to make ourselves feel more spiritual. I've been accused of calling God a liar, being weak in the faith, being anti-scriptural, and being unreasonably extreme, because I suggest that we consume way too much meat and dairy and that we don't need to consume any, and we'd be much healthier with much fewer diseases and much longer life if we chose compassion over appetite. That's actually a proven fact. People become very angry when you question their addictions. We want to feel right. We want to feel compassionate. We want to feel as though we are good stewards of our body and of the planet, even if we aren't. That's the fallen human mind, which, just like its nature's father, the devil, is a liar. A liar to others, but a liar to itself first. In the garden, Genesis says that the serpent was very cunning, just like the fallen mind. It will tell you that if you do not let it guide you, then you're going to end up in hell. It will tell you that if you do let it guide you, then you will find God. You will ascend. And actually, it's saying those things to its imaginary self, what some would call the ego. And it's telling you that that self is you, and you are that self. But it's an illusion. Satan is a liar and the father of all lies. All lies. including the ones that the mind constantly tells itself. Who turned the world into a desert and destroyed its cities, who would not free its prisoners. You know, we, as the human race, are behind invisible bars. We can't see them, but they are there nonetheless. We are slaves, obeying the devil-natured mind instead of the God-natured spirit. After all, the letter kills, but the spirit brings life. As God told mankind, "In the day you eat thereof, you shall surely die." So, we are lost in a cage of death. And as its servants, we cage and kill others. It's a result of sin, the result of the devil nature, the result of believing the lies of the mind as it exalts itself above the real you, just as Satan exalted himself above the real God. And what we consider feeding the spirit, if we were perfectly honest, is generally really feeding the mind. Is it not? Consider that. When we think we have heard from God, it often turns out that we have really heard from the mind. Just as Satan appears as an angel of light, so does the mind that bears that nature. And just like Satan, the fallen nature of the human mind will be cast into cleansing fire. We will finally let go, and we will finally be totally free. But until then, or until we wake up now, we worship the mind, our favorite false god, by worshiping its beliefs, its doctrines, its understandings, its religions, its denominations, its knowledge, head knowledge, its definitions, its labels, its conclusions, its stories, its fictitious you, and its feelings that you are it. All of this is an elaborate delusion, just like a dream. We're lost in a dream. We're sound asleep. And when you are awake, you'll find that it's very easy to laugh at just how seriously you took all of the illusions and just how completely you believed them all to be true. Those who see you will gaze at you and consider you, saying, "Is this the one who made the earth tremble, who shook kingdoms, who turned the world into a desert and destroyed its cities, who would not free its prisoners?" So, when you see atrocities committed, you just might realize that indirectly it's the devil, and directly it is his nature being worshipped and obeyed in the form of the human mind. Remain awake, watching and alert, resisting through surrender. How do we resist the devil? By surrendering to God. How do we resist the devil's nature in the form of being controlled by the human mind? By surrendering to what is right now, and thus surrendering to spirit, to life, to God. Pretending it's not now by living in the past or in the future is not surrender. And resignation is also not surrender, lest you get the two confused and misunderstand what I'm saying. True surrender, the kind that sends the devil fleeing and frees you from the trap of and slavery to the delusions of the human mind, is surrender to spirit. Now, spirit is not a thing or a form, but it is the source of all forms, or the space that allows the forms to be. You know, everything has its place. The mind's place is as your tool. The body's place is as God's temple and yours. This world's place and the place of the things in this world are as expressions of God's nature, beneficiaries of our stewardship, good or bad, and as spectacular dance floor on which we, to the rhythm of cycles and change, and to the music of timeless love, dance with the divine. And to that we surrender. To what is, not the story about what is, but what actually is in the present moment, surrender. Surrendering, or not fighting against the present moment, the only time in which life happens, is another way to describe the position of true gratitude. In everything give thanks. This is the will of God for you. For everything give thanks. If you are thankful for what you are given or not given right now, then you will not fight against it or try to escape it, will you? It is good enough. And with that, with what is, you can choose to be fully content, even if you take action right now to bring about some sort of change. You are fully content with what is. And as you submit yourself to God in this way, both the devil and his nature will be driven away in the same way that light drives away the darkness. Now, analyzing this and trying to put it in some sort of box or make some kind of doctrine or belief about it, is the mind saying, I will exalt myself into the heavenlies where the Spirit resides. Just going there without labeling it is the Spirit saying, I am here, without uttering a single word. Be still and know. Not be still and analyze to try to get to God, or be still and get head knowledge to make yourself more spiritual. But be still and know. Know. Like you know a sunset that is taking place right now. Although it's not the same as any other sunset has ever been or as any other ever will be. But no other sunset exists. This is all there is. It doesn't need describing because you see it. It doesn't need labeling because no label really fits. It doesn't need belief because it simply is. It doesn't need past or future because either one of those is not what it is or not where it is. And what it is right now, either past or future, cannot see or know. You have to come out of the mind to really know the sunset. And so it is with every moment. Can you let that be so? This moment, which is all there ever really is completely unique. Just like every moment of the evening sky. The dancing play of lights and shadows. The symphony of silence and sound. The rushing flow of energy and life. The indescribable bliss of the timeless love of God. All of that is present right now and only now. But for most people, it's covered up and it's explained away and it's labeled or escaped or resisted by the mind. In the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die. So, choose life. Choose full surrender, and thus know God.